Hello there, thanks for your company tonight. There has been much talk of airports today, but the government has given its full backing to a plan to get Doncaster Sheffield Airport reopened. In a major speech about boosting the country's economic growth, the Chancellor of the Exchequer said she would support efforts to create a thriving regional airport. But the Chief Executive of rival Leeds Bradford Airport has today warned that DSA could become a financial black hole and wouldn't survive. Here's our business correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
Doncaster Sheffield Airport was closed by its owner, despite the overwhelming support for it to stay open. It now sits idle.
They're the words that politicians in South Yorkshire have waited 2.5 years to hear.
So I can announce today that we will work with Doncaster Council and the Mayor of South Yorkshire, Oliver Coppard, to support their efforts to recreate South Yorkshire Airport City as a thriving regional airport.
But it's not clear what that support will look like. South Yorkshire's Mayor hopes the speech opens the door to additional funding.
That's got to be the conversation now. With the government, we can show you just how much this can make a difference to the growth trajectory of South Yorkshire. Now let's work together to make sure that we're getting that investment into Doncaster, into Gateway East and clearly into DSA to make this project thrive.
A light aircraft returned to DSA before Christmas, but a full reopening plan needs public funding because there's no agreement with a private sector investor. Instead, Doncaster Council has set up its own airport company, Fly Doncaster, that it's loaning £100 million to. That's raised concerns elsewhere in the industry, with the chief exec of Leeds Bradford Airport pulling no punches when he predicts what will happen.
The idea that Doncaster is going to be able to exceed its historical passenger number in any meaningful time frame and get anywhere near the level where it can fund the cost of its own operations is really, really hard to believe. Which means that all of this money, which is apparently being lent to Fly Doncaster, and with an expectation that it will be paid back at some point in future, let's be clear, that money is never coming back. The business will never make a profit, and in a relatively short period of time, the airport will close again at the loss of all of the money that the city of Doncaster is putting into it.
So are you predicting that Doncaster will fail after it reopens?
I am predicting that DSA will fail. It's a big statement. I cannot see a scenario in which Doncaster Airport is able to generate sufficient passenger numbers to enable it to actually be self-sustaining.
But isn't the chief executive of a rival airport, Leeds Bradford, bound to say that?
I think it's fascinating that when you look at airports that are close to closing or have closed in the UK, we look at Cardiff Airport in Wales, Teesside is another great example. When these airports try to close, the government comes in with public funds to support them, but just keeps paying subsidy after subsidy after subsidy to keep them operational. They are all continuing to use government funds to keep themselves alive.
I've said from day one, I want to reopen DSA, but I've also said it's got to be a good use of taxpayers' money. We've got to be able to unlock the opportunities that exist. We've got the support of the government now, but I've got to make sure that that money is used well, and the government would want that as well.
The rebirth of Doncaster Sheffield Airport moves a step closer with government backing today, but there's concern from its Yorkshire neighbour about how public money is spent. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North.
Certainly interesting arguments on both sides there. Let's speak now to our political editor, James Vincent, who is in Doncaster right now. James, how significant is the Chancellor's support when it comes to reopening this airport?
Well, it depends how significant you think of words coming from a politician. The word was support there. There were lots of words in the speech from Rachel Reeves today. We heard about transit and trams in West Yorkshire all the way through to the airport here in Doncaster. But the speechwriters never quite got to the pound sign key. They never put any money into it. They might have thought, actually, there's enough money going into it, because as Spencer said, £100 million of public money will go into this airport. The council failed to attract a private investor so far. They say that they're waiting in the wings, but they might have come along, had a look at the deal and thought, actually, we'll wait till the public money has been put into it before we come and operate the airport. That's the danger. And what Oliver Coppard's got to do now as mayor is look at the deal, look at what Doncaster Council wants to do and see if it's good value for money. We've seen examples of it not necessarily being good value for money or it not working out as planned so far in places like Teesside. The mayor's office there bought the airport, and they bought that for 40 million from Peel, the same people that own Doncaster Sheffield Airport. It's running at a loss at the moment, but Manchester Airport has public ownership, some public ownership as well. So there are minuses and pluses of a public body taking over an airport. I think that one of the reasons that we're not at the airport tonight is there's nothing to see there at the moment. It's closed, and it's been closed for that 2.5 years, as Spencer says. And whether it opens or not will be a big argument, none the least for climate campaigners and the net zero minister as well, Ed Miliband. He's got to look after the environment, but he's also a Doncaster MP and might be helping to open an airport.
James, thank you. Well, we're going to pick up on that. James talked there about climate campaigners. They're very unhappy about the Chancellor's support for the airport expansion. Protesters gathered outside Rachel Reeves's constituency office in Leeds today.
Their own scientific advisors have said for a long time now that there should be no airport expansion until there's proven technologies to reduce CO2. But she doesn't appear to be listening to the scientists. She's listening to the airline bosses because they're the only ones who are going to benefit from this.
That's campaigner Ian Copeman there. We will, of course, keep following the story of Doncaster Sheffield Airport as it progresses.